Welcome to the Veterans Growing America podcast. I am Coach Rob Simmons. I am here with my illustrious host, Donnell Johns. And again, we have another special guest for you today. We have Mr. Miguel Sierra. He is a suicide advocate and the founder of Miguel Sierra Speaks. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Miguel, so we're going to get right into it. This is a military podcast. So the audience wants to hear about your military experience and background. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I did 10 years active duty in the Army. I say six-year X-ray, a behavioral health tech. I was NCO. I see a couple of behavioral health clinics in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. I also work in a behavioral health clinic in Elwood, Missouri. Been medically retired since 2017. And for the last 3 years, I have been the suicide prevention program coordinator in Fort Meade, Maryland. As a civilian now, but still doing my job, taking care of soldiers and their families.
Nice.
Army all the way, there. A few more saves. All Army, everything.
Yeah. No, that's super dope because I'm in the Meade areas. I work a little bit further south, but I am in the area. Let me ask you this, Miguel. What about your military training and experience led you into the journey of entrepreneurship?
Now that it's hard to explain, but my retirement. So I love my job. I love the Army. I love being in uniform. But there came a time when I had to make decisions that were essentially. And I know some other veterans probably can relate, but I had to decide and choose my health, my mental and emotional health, and my family over my career. So what entrepreneurship did for me was it gave me a sense of hope, a sense of optimism, a sense of purpose to where my career could continue. I saw entrepreneurship as a way to keep my mission going. The last 7 years or so, in my entire Army career, man, I spent the bulk of it doing suicide prevention, right? Not just the behavioral health, patient care, patient and clinic care work, but I did a lot of suicide prevention work, especially for Belvoir, which led to me doing work all over the DMV or the National Capital Region. So entrepreneurship gave me a chance to carry on with my mission. It kept me from going down very dark, emotional and mental places by giving me a strong sense of purpose. You know what I mean? And then eventually what happens is you start connecting with like-minded individuals. I believe in laws of attraction. People like Donnell, for example, just happened to meet. A couple of other friends that I've met that have very much used entrepreneurship to continue with their mission, taking care of the veteran and military communities. So
this question is a little similar, but not the same. So what inspired you, right, to start your own business? What was the inspiration, right?
I was lost for a minute. You know what I mean? I took the uniform off, not by choice. I wasn't one of those guys that was looking for a medical board and medical retirement. I was very blessed to have come out with a very good situation, I guess, when it comes to being a disabled veteran. But I lost a strong sense of purpose. My motivation was, man, just as a man, as a father, as an NCO, as a soldier for life, man, it gave me a sense of purpose. So entrepreneurship was a way for me to find a way to keep my job going, essentially, man, which meant for me, so for somebody like me, it meant that it kept my heart beating. You know what I'm saying? I think the work that I do, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't pay a lot of money, and I'm not gonna get filthy rich off of this. I wish I could, but it definitely keeps me in a space where my work continues. So this has been a lifesaver for me, to be honest with you.
Hey, tell us a little bit about Miguel Speaks. What is it that you do, and who is the community that you serve?
So my community is essentially anyone that would listen, right? So what I do with Miguel Sierra Speaks is I provide workshops, classes, keynote addresses, group events, just facilitate conversations centered around the stigmatizing mental health and looking at suicide prevention from a practical, holistic, and community perspective, right? In essence, I encourage people, right? Not just veterans, right? I've spoken to youth organizations, I've spoken to colleges and universities, I've done workshops for the LGBTQ plus community. I've done workshops for Black Veteran Foundations. So different subgroups of society that all benefit from taking a little bit of responsibility back from behavioral health and mental health, professional mental health services, and looking at suicide prevention as a community issue. You know what I mean? I think, for example, the things that Donnell does, I remember having a conversation with him early on. I said, you realize that what you're doing is suicide prevention. He was like, I'm not doing suicide prevention. I'm not doing mental health stuff. I'm just focusing on taking care of the community, blah, blah, blah. It was a very strong mindset that I don't think, no, I know, and I hope I'm not throwing you out there, Donnell, but I know I didn't connect how what he was doing was essentially preventing all these veterans from falling in spaces like I did for a while, where they felt lost, they felt a lack of purpose, a lack of community, a lack of understanding, a lack of mission. And by creating a space like VGA, it was definitely 100%. And I promise you, all his vendor or his whole entire team will tell you, because I've been around him enough, that creating this type of spaces is suicide prevention. So I help people connect those dots, right? Connect how a nutrition class or healthy eating habits or a comedy hour, sharing a laugh with some good friends every once a month, the Laugh Out Loud, the showcase that Donnell does, that's suicide prevention. You know what I'm saying? So my job is to essentially, through my company, create a more simple approach to the topic of suicide prevention and not look at it as a veteran condition or military condition or some sort of trauma-related stuff. Without discounting, that's the most important thing, man. I don't want to discourage anyone from getting help. I think mental health services, professional behavioral health services are very important. But when we look at it as a strictly mental health issue, we are able to deflect some of the responsibility that we have to each other and to ourselves when it comes to prevention of suicide and destigmatizing mental health. Just yesterday, I did a thing. I'm being a little long-winded here, but just yesterday, I was part of an event where a really good friend of mine, Ms. Linda Diaz, who lost her daughter to suicide at 15, and she's been an advocate for suicide prevention for young adults and anti-bullying champion for young adults for the last, I want to say 10 or so years. The event that we had for suicide prevention was a kickball game. And I love that idea because it's like we're not sitting down and just discussing the topic of suicide prevention and go get help and call 988, which again, I don't want to discount as being important, but it was more powerful for us to sit there. I mean, we lost, so it was a little bit embarrassing, but like playing kickball, laughing with each other, arguing with each other a little bit, and all the good fun, that was suicide prevention. The event itself, you know what I'm saying? I love being in a space where I can help people understand the power that they have. And more specifically to businesses, right? I love talking to corporations and organizations that are looking for profit margins and productivity from their employees, and I help them understand how building a cohesive team, a team that cares for each other in a genuine way, that has strong connections, can be more productive and in turn make you more money. You know what I'm saying? So I simplify something that again, you can apply to any, whether it's community, whether it's as you as a business owner, as an HR manager, things that they're gonna make you profit, make it more profitable for you, or things that are just gonna make the community a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? I have a pretty good gift of doing that, and that's what I do with my company.
No, that's huge. I remember that moment we had that conversation because
I was in the car. I was driving back from Florida. I was on the phone. We ended up with the phone about 4 hours or something.
it was good because most of the conversation around PTSD, suicide, and homelessness is all negative, and it's really not solution based. It's having a conversation about it. When it's more than a conversation, it's building connections with people and finding out what their purpose is and understanding what their purpose is. And through purpose, a person can live and survive. And just to have people around them that care about them is suicide prevention. Like you said, laughter, joking, kickball, all of that is suicide prevention. And so thank you for sharing that with me because it gave me another. I didn't realize I knew that I was doing was helping people, but I didn't look at it as suicide prevention because suicide is a negative thing. And
And I remember that. The first
yeah,
time I met you was like, man, I want to make us seem old veterans or just broken. And I'm like, "Oh, but you realize what you're doing. Hold on one second. Because I understood 100% that the point that you were making, which is stop victimizing us as veterans.
yeah,
Stop looking at us like we are PTSD, like we are suicide, like we are this 22 a day and all the other stuff or whatever, which is all BS. Because you're right, and you say it all the time. Say those are all human conditions, not veteran conditions, and you are absolutely right. You know what I'm saying? And suicide prevention is not a army or military issue. I do it now, man. I teach my classes. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this, man. And notice that's like a master I made. You're gonna appreciate this. We do a disservice to our veterans, to our service members that eventually become veterans by compartmentalize the trainings, right? We have suicide prevention for soldiers. And in those trainings, and then you have suicide prevention for civilians and suicide prevention for family members. And in those trainings, the examples you give, the different situations that they give, they're very much specific to the population, the target population for the training. What we're doing is we're creating a space where a soldier is going to feel very comfortable helping another soldier out, right? But when that soldier's little niece from, I don't know, Long Beach, California, or the Bronx, New York, calls them with an issue, they're going to be uncomfortable discussing suicide prevention with that person because we didn't prepare them for that. We prepare us to take care of each other as soldiers. But the reality of it is, like, being in the Army is a part of who we are, but it's not the entirety of who we are. We still got family members that are not in the military, that are not going to speak that language. But we have to simplify the conversation. Part of that is connecting how our everyday missions are suicide prevention. Donnell's, yours is. This podcast is. The fact that I'm here in Phoenix right now, getting ready to go to a conference on drug and alcohol addictions, that's suicide prevention. Like, it's so many different areas and so many different aspects. But the point is, show up for yourself, show up for other people, and ensure that you create genuine connections with other human beings to prevent suicide.
that's well said. Well said. My question to you is about transition. How did your transition go from military to the civilian and then entrepreneurship? How did that go? And then how did you overcome those challenges?
Depression hit a brother hard, man. You know what I'm saying? It was funny, right? Because when I got out, again, I fought my medical board. I didn't want to get out of the Army. I looked for compassionate reassignments. I looked for support from my senior leadership to help me stay in the uniform. And when that didn't happen, my immediate leadership, I would say my company leadership, right? My company commander, my company first sergeant, my first line supervisor, they were very supportive of me, and they afforded me a lot of time to take care of my VA appointments, my medical appointments, all of that stuff, to the point that when I got out, I came out with 100% disability, which for us in the veteran community is what we strive for. I had my rating 3 months before I took the uniform off, right? Mm-hmm. So everyone around me was congratulating me and telling me how lucky I was, which I was, you know what I'm saying? But it set me up for a space where I wasn't really understanding why everybody was so happy for me around me. I'm literally like pissed off, you know what I'm saying, for taking the uniform off. And then I get home, and this a little hard to discuss, man, but so bear with me, man. Depression hit me so hard that I didn't realize it. And again, as a behavioral health tech, I deal with mental health issues and behavioral health issues all the time. My session was Hawaii, moved back to Virginia. For about 8 months, I wasn't working. I was collecting a nice little check from the VA, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is for life, like tax free. I don't got to put some of my taxes, like, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm being set up for success here, to the point that I didn't realize how depressed I was. And I didn't realize how depressed I was until I actually got a job about 8 months later, and I started reflecting back on it. But those first 8 months or so, bro, like when I tell you, all I was doing was, and this is how you convince yourself you're not depressed. I was waking up every morning. I was going to the gym. I was running, physically fit, probably the best shape I have been in a long time. was eating well, and then I would go upstairs to my bedroom and watch Martin reruns for 5-6 hours in between throughout the day. And I was allowing Fortnite to raise my kids. My kids would come over and ask me for V-Bucks, for money to play Fortnite. And for a whole summer, you know what I'm saying? Like, my kids were raised by Fortnite, not me, because I was watching Martin reruns all day. That was depression. And I didn't realize how bad it was, because again, I was going out there, I was in the gym, and I was like, the gym is my therapist. You know what I'm saying? Well, this skewed mentality that I had, man, that it took for me to actually start working. It was a BS job, man. I was grateful for the job, but it was definitely not a job that I enjoyed doing. I didn't want to tell about what it is that I was doing. But when I started coming out of that shell or that cocoon of being at home, I started reflecting back, like, things could have really went south, because I was definitely dealing with depression. So that transition was very difficult. And I think when I realized what I was experiencing is when I said, these jobs, and I'll tell you what I was doing. I don't know what I said. It was like a bad job or something. I was doing stamp fraud reviews or whatnot for the FDA. So I had a little job studying like people stealing food stamps or doing food stamp things that were wrong. But I realized, man, I said, my mission still goes, right? My job, my passion still applies, man. I partnered up with one of my really good friends to create at that moment what's called Absolute Life, which was like a brand that focused on emotional wellness, suicide prevention, emotional wellness, alongside my homeboy's brand of Absolute Fitness, which he did a lot of physical fitness type of trainings and events or whatnot. And we kind of connect them both to make mental health and physical health coexist in one space or whatnot. And that started my journey, man. And that started kind of bringing me up to the point where I am now, where I really focus on using my experience, using my knowledge, and using the privilege that I have as a United States Army veteran to speak on a topic that has definitely divided us as a country, that has stigmatized a lot of us, that has put us in places where we accept our shortcomings. And I use the little bit of platform that I have to speak very loudly about how we can, one, take responsibility back for ourselves. But more importantly, when you deal with depression, sometimes, like I just told you, you don't see it coming. You don't realize what's going on with you. So I like to empower people around folks that might be experiencing depression as to how they can show up for their neighbor, their battle buddies, their comrades, their family members, their love. That's how I got started.
Hey, this is good, because he's just dropping gems right now. I love it. And so, speaking of dropping gems, man, what are some valuable lessons that you learned throughout that journey that you would like to share with the community?
One of the things that I speak on all the time, man, and it's actually giving you guys a preview. Suicide Prevention Month is September. So coming up, man, I have major things popping, right, in my installation. And for the Army itself, man, I'm doing a lot of work for the installations now also. And one of the things that I've been focusing on is understanding the power that we have and showing up for each other. So I'm starting this project called the Wilson Project. I already started, man. My bosses might see this and they're like, man, they're going to take us to and run with it. So I don't care, man. It's what we're supposed to be doing, right? Taking care of each other. But
we won't drop this till September. How about
no, you're good. You're good. Nah, do it, because my thing is, though, man, I don't even care about months and all that. I care about suicide prevention is every month for me, man. It's an everyday thing. The biggest thing that I can tell you, though, is, man, there is power in community. There's power in genuine connection. Suicide is a complex issue, man. It's never not one thing. It's not like one event happened, one thing happened, and that person got pushed to die by suicide or to think about dying by suicide. But there is one thing that when you look at different demographics, when you look at different subgroups of society, there's one thing that always shows up, right, in suicidal indicators, and that is loneliness. You know what I'm saying? Like a lack of community, lack of connection, healthy connection with other human beings is one of the things that we know impacts no matter who it is, right? You can be poor, rich, you can be, educated, not educated, you can be any race, any type of socioeconomic background, any type of religious background. When you feel lonely, that is when you feel like on that little island by yourself, that's the biggest risk factor are one of the biggest risk factors for suicide. And when you look at it from that perspective, man, I ask you guys, do you think can you impact someone feeling lonely without any training whatsoever? Based on what I just told you, can you impact someone coming into your community, your job, your circle, neighborhood, whatever, right? And them feeling lonely? You can, right? Like we can impact someone feeling right. So when we understand that, we are able to essentially shift the responsibility, part of the responsibility away from behavioral health back to us. And man, I tell you this. So I call it Project Wilson because I always bring an example of the movie Castaway. I know if you have some young people watching, they might not know, but we know. In Castaway, when Tom Hanks found himself lonely on that island by himself, he tried to die by suicide. I don't know if you guys remember that part where he tried to hang himself from that cable, whatever it was. And when he could not go through it, what did he do? He created a whole little human being out of a little volleyball, right? So you got Wilson, right? You got a little Wilson ball or whatnot that he created just to cope with that loneliness, right? And for me, that's a reminder that we have to show up for each other. You know what I mean? That's a reminder that I have that tells you that no matter how introverted or how extroverted you are, like we need each other, man. We need community. We need a sense of connection. That's the reason why when you're lonely, when you're sad, and somebody gives you a hug, you feel a little bit better. That's why when you watch a comedy show or when I was watching Martin reruns, for example, like watching Martin by yourself, the way you laugh is like almost weird to laugh by yourself. So the first thing you do, Donnell and I do it all the time, send each other funny memes and stuff on Instagram. Hey, man, I want to share this laugh with you. Why? Because we need that connection. You know what I'm saying? So the Wilson Project is there to remind us of the power that we have to influence someone feeling lonely, the power that we have to be that genuine connection, that healthy, genuine connection for another human being to, God forbid, if at any point they do feel suicidal, they can think of you as someone they can lean on and make that phone call and reach out for help. Or even sometimes you don't even got to reach out for help, but that healthy connection might be an indicator to remind you, you know what, even if I do want to die, man, I wonder what my death would do to Donnell, for example, or to Rob. And how will that impact them? And that can be a protective factor against someone trying to die by suicide. With that being said, I would like to introduce, you know what I'm saying? You know how the Olympic had the little mascot? Remember that? I don't know if you guys can see my Miguel Wilson here. This is the mascot, you know what I'm saying, from my campaign that we're rolling out in Fort Meade next month, man. Again, man, just show up for each other, man. Just understand the power that you have in keeping someone from dying by suicide, man. Don't even think about suicide, man. Just think about the power that you have in making someone feel loved for, cared for, seen, acknowledged, and supported. That's it.
Man, that was dope.
You dropping gems, man.
I really appreciate that. You gave people a sneak peek of what we do at VGA, but tell people about your experience with VGA.
VGA is my family, man. You know what I'm saying? I know they're probably mad at me right now because I've been away working, man, but VGA is fam, man. VGA is family. I miss y'all every day. I cheer you guys on from a distance as I continue to evolve and develop my own brand. But I love the community that Donnell has created. I love the vibe. I love the things that they do. I love the way that VGA approaches business, entrepreneurship, and business ownership as a family, supporting each other, showing up for each other. That's why I used to love going to VGA on Saturday and Sundays and playing music for him and creating a little cookout type vibe in there. You know what I mean? Because it was a beautiful thing to see people pushing themselves to sell their products and show up for each other, show up for themselves, but also support each other. Just little things like covering down on somebody's table while they were out of town, or even when they went out to get coffee for everybody else. Like just how they learn, how the vendors learn each other's products to actually sell each other's products and support each other. And then you got your superstars, so the people that shine a little brighter, and the way that those people that shine brighter always reach back to help others come up to their level, and the way that those that were not shining as bright understood the mission and never felt threatened or never felt like they wanted to hate the person shining a little brighter, man. It was a beautiful community, or it is a beautiful community. Every chance I get, you know what I'm saying, I swing by. I don't even call Donnell no more. I just show up because I feel really good when they're like, oh, Miguel's here. Like, I surprise him. So it's a little selfish, but I love the space. I love the fact that Donnell has done it with his wife and his son to exemplify the power of the nuclear family. And when you guys do things together, what that looks like, it's a beautiful space, man. And I commend you for what you've done. I commend you for steering that ship, for inspiring me, man, because when I see what you're doing, you essentially keeping your command sign major, as a civilian now, and you keep the mission going. So that encourages me, and it gives me hope to understand that my mission carries on, even though I took the uniform off. You know what I'm saying? And when I shifted, and you and I had a conversation also at one point, man. One of the things that I'll tell you today, because I'm seeing you for the first time in a while, is that a lot of doors in the last few months have opened up for me within my military, my Army career, my 9 to 5, if you may, that as Staff Sergeant Sierra, I wouldn't have. So the impact that I'm making now, the influences that I'm having now, are things that are paying off. And it's a direct correlation to the time that I spent at VGA, man. So I'm forever grateful. I'm only here today. I got off a plane a few hours ago, tired as I just woke up from a little nap. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get up, man. Donnell needs me to go with this podcast. I don't do this for everybody. But when Donnell calls and says he needs me, man, I definitely do my best to show up for him. And that's because of what VGA means to me, man. So respect to the family and to you, D. Respect.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it.
Stop saluting me, man. I'm NCO, man. I work for him.
I love it. Hey, Miguel, where can the people find you? How can they get a hold of you?
The quickest way, man, my social media, Miguel.Sierra, Sierra .SP. On Instagram, that's where I spend most of my time. I mean, not even working, just sharing like funny memes with Donnell and a couple other homies. They can also look at my website, MiguelSierraSpeaks.com. There is a contact contact link there where they can email me. And yeah, this is probably the best two ways, man. The Instagram or through my website, MiguelSierraSpeaks.com.
I love it. Hey, and Donnell, where can the people continue to support VGA?
Y'all can find us at 2 places now. So Veterans Growing America, as we speak, we're in Woodbridge and then also Clarksburg Premium Outlet. We will open the doors in early September. You can visit us on our website at veteransgrowingamerica.com. We do a lot of community building events. Miguel said you can find comedy shows there. You can find open mic night. You can find line dancing. You can find pop-up shops every weekend. And most importantly, you can find veterans, military spouses, and dependents showcasing their purpose, passion, and prosperity. And like Miguel said also is when you show up for us, and you walk through those doors and you give your time, even if you don't plan on spending no money, you can spend some time with our veterans and then learn about their business. And that's just as the dollar that you spend knowing and understanding that individual, taking a picture, sharing your time at our space to bring people through our doors to show us that you care. And that's amazing. And so visit us, veteransgrowingamerica.com or Veterans Growing America on all social media platforms, and we'll see you there.
And don't forget, shop, baby.
Shop, baby.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Miguel, we want to thank you so much again for joining us and giving us all of those gems, man. And we truly appreciate your time.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure. Anytime y'all need me, I'm here.
Appreciate you.
Let's go.
We are over and out.